Dear 33ers, how the heck are you doing? I want to talk today about the long-awaited Van Halen box set featuring the Sammy-era era, the Sam Halen, the Van Hagar. But before I get to that, what are your thoughts on the Record Store Day Black Friday list? I remember last Record Store Day, the April one, we had the Van Halen Live right here, right now, 4 LP box set, which I was super excited about, but there's not as much on the list this time that I'm really salivating about. I know the Black Friday one is never quite as robust, as big, as exciting as the April event, but at this point, I don't think I'm going to go out on Record Store Day Black Friday. There's nothing much on that list that appeals to me. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Oh, before I forget, a couple pieces of housekeeping if you're interested. I have those 2023 Channel 33 RPM Halloween t-shirts for sale, 3 different versions of them. They're not limited edition. They will be available all year, but if you ask me, they are most cool to wear around this time of year, Halloween, right? That's the first thing I wanted to mention. Number 2, I still have that contest going on where you can win a pair of UbeCubes. There are going to be 2 winners. Contest is super easy to enter. Check out the video. I'll leave a link below this video as well. I'm going to spill my water there. Check out the UbeCubes. The UbeCubes on the YouTubes. Anyway, this is what we are here to talk about. This is the Van Halen studio outtakes and rarities from the Sammy-era era. Oops, they call this called the collection part 2, I think. But it doesn't say that on here. On the spine, it says Van Halen 86 to 96. The hype sticker says Van Halen studio albums and rarities. 5 LPs remastered from the original tapes by Bernie Grunman. 5150 0812 for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge Balance and some studio rarities from 89 to 2004. On the back, there are all the albums. I'm going to show you what's inside here and talk a bit about my initial impressions of these records and of revisiting the entire Sammy Hagar Van Halen discography for the first time in quite some time. Anyway, the box, I don't know, it's probably a little over 1 inch thick, sturdy. I love the Sammy Hagar era Van Halen logo, the Van Halen ring. Let's look through all the records here. First up, got 5150. The packaging is very faithful to the original. If anything, I notice that the reproduction, the printing is maybe a little more blurry than the original. So I'm not sure. It's not super noticeable or anything. It's not quite as crisp. So 5150. These are all also on 180 gram vinyl. Really thick. Black vinyl too. Actually, that's one thing I'm happy about, that they didn't go down this rabbit hole of colored vinyl. It's black, 180, classic black. That's all you need. That's all I need. I can't speak for you. These jackets too have a lot of room to breathe. That was nice to see. I kind of wish that these had come with anti-static inners. Easy to switch out though. That's what I'm going to do. OU812. Again, pretty faithful reproduction. Maybe not quite as crisp as the original. Same inners. Same inners. Now this is where things start to get interesting, because after OU812 came For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and this was released in 1991. By that point, the first vinyl era was over, is kind of winding down. So these were fairly hard to come by, and they're quite expensive on the secondary market. I do have an original European pressing that my friend Chris in Austria found for me at a flea market. But these are hard to find. So super happy. This is, I think, what most people are excited about, this in balance. One interesting thing. Here, For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, you see the way that is written? I don't know if you can make it out. It's a little bit different on the original. There's more of a black shadow on this one. You probably can't tell on your screens. The inner, got the guys in the studio. I always dug this shot of them all singing. Next up, Van Halen Balance. And this was originally released in 1995. This one, extremely hard to find the original pressings. I remember going into a record store when we lived in Edmonton, Alberta, like 7 years ago, and they had a sealed copy on the shelf for $50, and I scoffed. Said, who would pay $50 for this? And I walked away, but that record now is going for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So that was one of my big regrets. So happy that they finally reissued this one. And this one is interesting. They made it a 5 LP box set by including this one, Studio Rarities, 1989 to 2004. I had heard most of these before, except for a track called Crossing Over. I had never heard that one, and apparently that the music was recorded during the 5150 sessions, and then Sammy went years later and re-recorded the vocals. I'm not really digging that track. It's not doing it for me. But this album is worth it, in my opinion, just for Humans Being. Such a great song. And I hadn't looked at the writing credits for these songs in a while, because back in the day, up to a certain point, all 4 members got writing credits. I noticed in the later day tracks, Humans Being, It's About Time, Up for Breakfast, and Learning to See, they no longer gave Michael Anthony a writing credit. I remember reading about that. They met with him and figured they're going to cut him out of the writing credits because he wasn't really writing. It was a bit of a hoopla at the time, but Michael Anthony being cool as a cucumber just kind of went with it. So those are the 5 records. Let's talk about how they sound.
Channel 33, RPM.
All right, I made some notes here. That's what I do when I listen to these records initially. I kind of sit down and either on a pad of paper or my computer screen write down my impressions so I can remember later what the hell I was talking about. So generally, all of these generally sound really, really good. I notice, again, broad strokes here, I notice that maybe the soundstage doesn't sound quite as big as my original pressings. So I did A-B comparisons with the old and new for 5150, O, U812, and 4 Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. The originals seemed to have a bigger soundstage, like they sounded bigger coming out of my speakers. And again, using broad strokes here, the originals maybe had a little more of a high end to them, and the bottom end was boosted on these ones. That's my impression, right? It's hard, and I say I'm painting broad strokes here because it's really hard to make these comments because it depends on so much, right? Like which version of the original was I comparing it to, like 5150's original Canadian pressing. I think 0812's original US, right? There's all these different factors, but overall, these sound fantastic. Like a big soundstage, smaller soundstage. That's all one person's observation. I think these sound fantastic. The records, as I said, are heavy. And they're not scuffed. That's something we encounter sometimes now, right? New records, straight out of the sleeve, when we get them, they're scuffed. These are not scuffed. Beautiful pressings, clean pressings. I did notice that there was some like paper fiber, maybe more paper fiber than usual. So I ran them through the record cleaner, and then I used my Zero Stat anti-static gun to zap all the static off. And that really did the trick. The other thing about these Van Halen records I've been reading online is that some people are saying that they have been remixed. These records have not been remixed. They have been remastered. And there's a difference. When you say a record is remixed, that means you take the raw multi-tracks and they adjust the levels of the guitar and bass and vocals and whatnot. That didn't happen. It's been remastered. So it does sound a little different than the original, but they have not been remixed, and nowhere has it said they've been remixed. So if you're hearing that these albums have been remixed, they haven't. They've been remastered. The other interesting thing is, this was the first time in years that I actually sat down and listened to all of the Sammy Hagar era records. I've always said I like the Dave era equally to the Sammy era, but I've mostly been listening to the Dave to the Dave stuff. And listening to these back to back to back, I noticed a couple of things. One, the sound from 84 to 5150 changed dramatically, right? It was cleaner, it was poppier, it was much more mainstream, it was less risky. I guess they took a risk in a different perspective, because writing polished pop songs was a risk unto itself. And then it was fun listening to the evolution of Van Halen from that to OU812. On 5150, Alex is using electronic drums. On OU812, I believe, he went back to an acoustic kit. And then it's interesting watching Eddie's playing progress, because then they went to balance and for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and Eddie kind of moved away again from the keyboard, just more raw guitar, and the music got more sophisticated and more complicated. So it was really fun listening to that. And also, as the years went by, it could be my imagination, but I think Sammy's lyrics got more cheesy. As I said, interesting to watch Van Halen progress through these records. Eddie is one of my favorite guitarists of all time. Van Halen is one of my favorite bands of all time. I dig the Sammy-era, man. It's just, the 4 records are all so different from each other. And I'm just so grateful to have these on vinyl, especially balanced, because that has been a grail for many of us record collectors. So happy to have this. For Van Halen fan, recommend getting this. And I guess I'll have to wait and see if some of these are, if all of them are reissued as standalone records, because I know a lot of people are after For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge and Balance, and you can't buy those separately at this point. So, I mean, there's a buck to be made, so I imagine those will be coming down the road. But for now, you gotta get the box set to get them. Fun listen, Van Halen, the box set, Sammy Hagar years. All right, 33ers, a couple things, record store day. What are you looking forward to? What are you not looking forward to? And how about this Van Halen box set? I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll be back again real soon. Till then, keep on spinning.